Brian. So we're at this beautiful property with a beautiful living room. It's got a lot of architectural features to it. It's not mid-century. It's currently for sale. What are we looking at today?
Well, that's true. We're architecture brokers. We help people buy and sell properties with design integrity. And sometimes people think we only sell mid-century modern architecture, but this is an example of architecture built by living architects, people our age, more or less. And it's got a neat history because the young couple that bought the property and started building, they had a limited budget and limited needs. They only needed a really small house. Now they have 3 kids, and so in between, they did several additions. Started out with Tony Lewis and Mark Choplain. They did a living room addition by the same architects. They came back years later and did a 3rd addition, a primary suite with a roof deck. And then a 4th piece is the ADU by Jason Halter. And then they did a pool to kind of round out the project.
Yeah.
It really feels like a cohesive work of architecture. You've got a 3,000 square foot main house, a 500 square foot ADU, and open plan, butt glazed corner conditions, and lots of really thoughtful architectural details.
I love this story because the house grew with the family essentially. But let's go take a closer look.
Okay, let's go to the front yard.
So this is a little different. You got the primary out near the front entry.
Yeah, kind of raised up on a plinth. I love the way this floats. And you've got these triple Fleetwood sliders that pocket in and disappear. So this entire bedroom is open to the view and the yard, and really sweet. But you know, I'm enjoying standing right here and taking in all these orthogonal volumes. It's all about right angles and planes protruding beyond the building face, and you know, perpendicular elements. There's something really exciting about the scale and proportions of this place.
Yeah, I'm thinking a little differently.
Yeah.
I'm thinking waking up in the bed, maybe even keeping this open on a night, who knows, if you want to get crazy, and just looking out into this view of Silver Lake.
Well, we have a long tradition here of the sleeping porches. You know, people were coming to Pasadena in the 1800s to kind of take the cure, and they had bedrooms that were open to the outdoors like this. I'm thinking of Schindler's Kings Road, you know,
yeah.
Those 2 sleeping porches. Mm-hmm. So this is carrying on that tradition in a contemporary idiom.
Absolutely.
So to me, this is the money shot. You know, you've got this kind of L-shaped home with that big glue lamb turning down, and you've got a courtyard that's been created by the 2 walls of the structure and the embankment that falls off. So this is essentially a private courtyard. And then I'm really drawn to, you know, the butt glazed corner condition. And this looks like, you know, maybe 5/8 of an inch thick glass that's just mitered and joined with some silicone.
This is the 1st edition, right? So this is by Tony and Mark.
Yep.
And it's interesting because if you look at the shape and the overhang, I don't know if you agree with me or not, but it kind of reminds me of Cantor Architects. They do a lot of movements like this.
Yeah, and what's interesting, there are some structural steel columns inside that support this big cantilever. And if you notice where the sun is right now, this is functioning as a solar screen. The shadow line is actually in front of the glass and keeping the hot southern sun out of this room.
Mm-hmm. And because of all the glazing, when you're on the interior looking out, this front yard becomes an extension of your space. It makes the living room feel bigger than it really is because you're just looking out into the outdoors and the views.
Wow, look at that pool.
This is quite the entry. It's a hallway, but as soon as the doors open, then it becomes an outdoor room.
Yeah, I love it. You've got this living room, outdoor dining room, pool, bar, barbecue, covered seating area.
You know what I like about overhangs like this on the exterior is that it protects all the furniture within it.
That's true.
I love that. I think it brings back all of that labor of having to cover everything up at the end of the night.
Yeah, you don't end up with that black soot. So we're coming into the living room, which is the 1st edition by Mark Choplain and Tony Lewis. And some of the signature elements in here are the tall ceilings, the exposed structural steel, but I love this steel trowel plaster, and specifically the modeling that you get from the tradesperson using the trowel, drawing the lime to the surface, and you get like the memory of there used to be a couple of electrical outlets here. You know, that's probably where the TV was at one point. And you just patch it and move on, and it's all this texture that you see in Europe and in Central America, the history of humanity in architecture.
It adds the human touch,
Yeah.
and you can see it later. And then these kind of blemishes are part of its character, its age. It's like something happened here.
Right, makes it lively. I like the way they held the fireplace up off the ground, so when you're sitting in the couch, the fireplace is more at eye level. And then we come to this dramatic corner condition where we talked about the butt glazed condition, where two big pieces of glass come together in a mitered corner, and these structural steel columns that support that cantilevered roof element that provides the solar screening.
All of those things set you up for these really great conversations that you're gonna have in this living room. So you and I sitting on these chairs, looking out into that view.
Fantastic view.
What are we talking about? Most likely architecture.
Yeah, exactly. In the Barcelona chairs,
Exactly.
the Mies van der
The
Rohe
Mies van
chairs.
der Rohe.
More of this beautiful steel troweled plaster. You know, and this is cracking, of course, because that's what this kind of plaster does. People get all alarmed about that and think like, oh, is this a structural problem? No, it's 3-coat steel troweled plaster. It cracks, just like concrete cracks.
It's a living, breathing thing.
Yep, I love it. Adds so much texture and character to this room.
So this house is currently for sale, as we mentioned, and Brian and I are architecture brokers. So if you reach out to us, if you guys want to see it or you were thinking about purchasing it, you can hit us in our DMs.
Exactly.